So we're leaping into Beyond the Brave with Joey Wheeler. Make sure you guys smash the crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. So Joey Wheeler gets an entire makeover today with some pretty interesting new little tools here. And yes, we do get the first look at the new pack art actually showcasing Joey Wheeler front and center here with red eyes, and this is actually just a gorgeous art piece. I love this. Alright, so starting things off here, we have the Swift Panther Warrior. Alright, so we're getting a retrained for his level 4 Beast Warrior with 2000 attack, 1600 defense. Now you can only use this card's name first effect once per turn. So during the main phase, this works during both players' turns, we contribute one other monster from your field or hand to activate one of these effects. Either we can switch summon a monster that mentions the Dark Time Wizard from your hand or deck, except for Swift Panther, or we can send a spell and trap card that mentions the Dark Time Wizard from your deck to the graveyard. And of course, this thing cannot declare an attack unless a monster was tributed this turn. That's pretty interesting. We have Alligator Sword Dragon Knight, and of course, Alligator Sword is riding on a little baby dragon. That's adorable. 1700, 1500 on a level 5. So you can only use this card's name's first and second effects once per turn each. So if this card is in your hand, you can reveal one other card in your hand that mentions the Dark Time Wizard, and special summon this card from the hand, which is actually pretty good. If this card is normal or special summon, you can add up to 2 spell and trap cards with different names from each other that mention the Dark Time Wizard from your deck to your hand, and then lose one of those by discarding it. And then this can attack directly. So straight off the bat here, you have a relatively strong card that has the ability to get you some additional resources out of the deck, that also has the ability to attack directly. That's actually not too terrible. Now, I'm actually hoping here, based on these next 2 particular cards, that we are going to see some additional monsters being added into this deck, because only getting Jinzo and Legendary Fisherman feels a little bit weird for the way that, this deck is. Also, small other detail here. These monsters all have Battle City in the background. You know how cool that is? So this is Jinzo Energy Shocker, 2415. You can only use this card's name's second effect once per turn. So this card becomes Jinzo while on the field or in the graveyard. If this card is normal or special summon, you destroy all trap cards your opponent controls. If this card is set, if a card is set, reveal it. This gains 300 attack for each card destroyed this way. And your opponent cannot activate trap cards or effects while you have another monster in your field or graveyard that mentions the Dark Time Wizard. Yes, Joey gets to just blast the opponent with Jinzo. That's so cool. Like, I actually do appreciate that. And then we have the Fisherman, the Legend of the Sea. Thank you, dear old Freaky Fish guy, for bringing this up. So this is an 1850-1600 stat line. So you can only use this card's name's first and second effects once per turn each. If your opponent activates a monster effect on the field, or when their monster declares an attack and an Umi or a card that mentions Dark Time Wizard other than the Fisherman, the Legend of the Sea, is on your field, we can special summon this card from hand. Now, if this card is special summon, you can target one monster your opponent controls and destroy it. Also, return this card on the field to the hand during the end phase of this turn. Yes, Konami managed to magically create this powerhouse monster that will respond to your summons, which is actually, I think, one of the coolest cards we got today, honestly. And then we have the Red Eyes Black Dragon Exceed. This is what it's like to go even further beyond. 3,400, by the way. So this is going to be a Red Eyes Black Dragon plus a monster that mentions the Dark Time Wizard. Now, this either must be fusion summoned or special summoned from the next deck, attributing one face-up monster in either field. During the turn, a monster is destroyed by the effect of the Dark Time Wizard. Now, of course, you only special summon one Red Eyes Dragon Exceed per turn this way, no matter which summoning method you use. So on special summon, you get to special summon a level 8 or lower monster from your hand or graveyard. This does not care, by the way. The fact that this allows me to bring out any real big boss monster piece is actually kind of cool. And of course, you know, it's a Towers monster, being unaffected by your opponent's activated monster and spell effects. So good. Now we also have the Dark Time Wizard. This is truly a beautiful card. And, you know, as many times as Joey Wheeler slammed this card on the table in the Spell and Trap card zone, I truly do feel like this is a good homage to actually having this card be a spell. So activate one of these effects, but you can only use each of these effects of this card's name once per turn. So we can add a card that mentions Dark Time Wizard from your deck to your hand, except for the Dark Time Wizard. Also, add one Dark Time Wizard from your graveyard to your hand during the end phase of this turn. So we get recurability back for this, which is great. Or we can toss a coin and call it. If you call it right, destroy as many monsters your opponent controls as possible, and if you do inflict damage to your opponent equal to half the monster's total original attack. And of course, if you destroy it wrong, destroy all monsters you control. I love the fact that they still kept the time roulette on this card, because that is hilarious. We also have, of course, we had to bring the dice into this. There was always going to be a mention of this. So Graceful Skull Dice. Okay. Quick effect. Roll a 6-sided dice twice and apply these effects in sequence for the rest of this turn. So monsters you control that mention the Dark Time Wizard will gain attack and defense equal to the total attack times 200. Or monsters your opponent will lose attack equal to the total times 200. So it is still going to remain an attack modifier, which is fine. Now, if your opponent normal or special summons a monster while this card is in your graveyard, you can banish this card to target one monster. Roll a 6-sided dice twice, and if the roll is 6 or more, you actually get the ability just to destroy that opponent's monster. That is funny to me. I'm actually a little bit shocked that Konami slapped that condition on this, because it's a level of effect like that that just seems pretty outrageous. And then, of course, we have the Sleeping Scapegoats. Frickin' finally. So special summon up to 4 Scapegoat tokens, of course, in defense mode. Then if your opponent controls a monster, you can special summon a Swift Panther Warrior from your deck. Also, for the rest of this turn, these tokens cannot be tributed for a tribute summon. Also, you cannot special summon from the extra deck for the rest of this turn except for fusion monsters. And if a card or cards you control that mentions Dark Time Wizard will be destroyed by battle card effect, you can destroy one of your tokens summoned by this effect instead. So this also has built-in protection, which is actually kind of cool. I appreciate the fact that Konami is kind of trying to give Joey a little bit of protection here, just so you know your deck feels like, you know, you're building up for that good momentum. Oh my gosh, we got Grave Robber. This is amazing. So, normal trap card. You can only use the first deck effects of this card's name once per turn. Send a card that mentions the Dark Time Wizard from your deck to the graveyard, except for this. Then you can special summon a monster from either field or graveyard. You can banish this graveyard to set one of these cards to your field. A spell and trap card that mentions Dark Time Wizard, a foolish Grave Robber, or a spell and trap in your opponent's graveyard. Keep in mind, nowhere on this card does it say, you know, the card that you grave rob with this. Can you actually use that card in the same turn? A little bit sad that you can't, but it's really cool that we did get the ability to actually, you know, get stuff in the opponent's graveyard. And we also have the reversal box. Ooh. So once per turn, during the standby phase, we can roll a 6-sided dice and place counters on this card equal to the result, max 6. So once per battle, if an opponent's monster attacks during damage calculation, or when a monster effect is activated on your opponent's field, we can remove a counter from this card to target one of those monsters, toss a coin, and call it. If you call it right, you can special summon a monster that mentions Lightning Darkness from your deck, and if you do until the end of this turn, change that target monster attack to 0 and negate its effects. That's dirty, man. You're telling me that per battle, I can just blink something potentially and set it to 0? Oh my gosh. This also works if I'm attacking into the things as well. That's just funny. I do appreciate like the effort that was made with these cards, because they seem very, very, very cool. So what do you guys think about the Joey Wheeler cards? Please leave a comment down below what you guys think. I'll see your beautiful faces back here later in the day, guys. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.